The story opens with a scene of sheer desperation and survival, centering on a young woman fleeing through a relentless snowstorm. The cold is almost a character itself, piercing her thin coat, numbing her fingers, and frosting her eyelashes with tiny crystals of ice. Every breath she takes clouds in the freezing air, and each step is an effort against both the wind and the deep snow that pulls at her boots. The environment around her is merciless. Skeletal trees bend under the weight of snow. The ground is treacherous with hidden ice patches, and the horizon is a blur of white, erasing all sense of direction. Her situation is urgent, yet the storm forces her to slow down, testing her resolve and determination. Her flight is not just a physical struggle, but an emotional one. She is escaping from an abusive or threatening situation, perhaps an oppressive household or someone who intends to harm her. The fear she carries is palpable, a constant companion that quickens her pulse and sharpens her senses. She is hyper-aware of every sound: the distant crack of a falling branch, the howl of the wind, even the soft crunch of her own footsteps in the snow. Each noise could be a sign of danger or a chance at survival. Despite her exhaustion, she pushes forward, driven by a primal instinct to survive and to reach a place of safety. She carries with her only a small bundle of belongings, perhaps some clothing, a few personal keepsakes, and whatever she could grab in her flight. This bundle symbolizes not just material possession, but also her life, her identity, and her hopes for the future. Every time it digs into her shoulder, she feels the weight of both her escape and the unknown ahead. The snowstorm seems to stretch endlessly, creating a sense of isolation that mirrors her emotional state. She is alone in the vast wilderness, with no allies in sight, making every step forward both physically and emotionally taxing. Her desperation is heightened by the physical effects of the cold and fatigue. Her legs ache, muscles trembling with effort. Her lungs burn with each breath in the icy air, and frostbite begins to nibble at her exposed skin. Even as the blizzard threatens to overwhelm her, she presses onward, fueled by sheer willpower and the instinct to survive. The snow seems to mock her struggle, piling higher with every step, erasing footprints as quickly as she makes them. Yet, within this harsh environment, her determination shines, a testament to her resilience and courage. The narrative also emphasizes her psychological state. Her mind races, torn between panic and hope. Memories of the danger she is fleeing haunt her, but visions of freedom and safety drive her forward. The story subtly sets up her character as resourceful, brave, and intelligent, qualities that will later help her survive the challenges ahead. The snowstorm, in this sense, is both an antagonist and a catalyst. It creates tension and danger while also revealing her inner strength. In summary, Part 1 immerses the reader in a world of extreme winter wilderness and emotional intensity. It establishes the young woman as a sympathetic protagonist, immediately evoking concern for her safety and curiosity about her past. The snowstorm is both a physical and metaphorical obstacle, highlighting her vulnerability, resilience, and determination. By the end of this section, readers are fully invested in her struggle, understanding that survival will demand both courage and ingenuity, and that her journey is only beginning. As the snowstorm rages on, the young woman's struggle intensifies. Each step becomes heavier, her energy waning, and the cold gnaws deeper into her bones. The landscape is a blur of white, the horizon almost indistinguishable from the ground, and the trees stand like silent sentinels, frozen in place. In this moment of near hopelessness, a new presence enters the scene, a rugged cowboy returning from a cattle run. His arrival shifts the tension in the narrative, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the relentless winter chaos. The cowboy is immediately introduced as a figure of strength and resilience, his presence commanding yet unintrusive. Mounted on a sturdy horse, he is well prepared for the harsh conditions, dressed in a thick coat, leather gloves, and a wide-brimmed hat that shields his face from the biting wind. His horse, a loyal companion, moves steadily through the snow, unbothered by the storm's fury. The contrast between the cowboy and the fleeing woman is striking. He is experienced, in control of his environment, and capable of navigating the treacherous terrain, while she is vulnerable, disoriented, and fighting to survive. This juxtaposition immediately sets up a dynamic of protection and dependence without diminishing her own strength. Their first encounter is tense and charged with uncertainty. The cowboy spots her trudging through the snow, her small frame almost swallowed by the vast expanse of white. He calls out, his voice strong but calm, cutting through the howling wind. The words carry reassurance, yet they are carefully measured. He does not approach recklessly, understanding the fragility of trust in such moments. The woman freezes at the sound, unsure whether to hope or fear, her instincts torn between survival and caution. This hesitation adds depth to the interaction, illustrating her past experiences and her instinct to protect herself from strangers. The cowboy's approach is deliberate and respectful. He dismounts smoothly, his movements confident but gentle, showing both competence and empathy. He observes her condition, noting the frost on her eyelashes, the way her shoulders slump under exhaustion, and the desperate clutch of her bundle. Recognizing the urgency of her situation, he extends a hand and offers a simple, unspoken promise: safety, warmth, and guidance. This gesture is pivotal. It establishes the beginning of trust, setting the stage for their partnership in the story. The cowboy's character is further defined by his empathy and ability to read people, hinting at a life shaped by experience, hardship, and a strong moral compass. The snowstorm itself heightens the drama of this encounter. The howling wind and swirling snowflakes create a sense of isolation, emphasizing the peril the woman faces and the significance of the cowboy's intervention. Each step he takes toward her is laden with risk, both from the elements and from the unknown nature of her situation. The reader senses that this meeting is not merely a chance encounter, but a turning point, a moment where fate intervenes to alter the course of her journey. By the end of this section, the dynamic between the two characters is established. He is the protector, experienced and calm. She is the vulnerable yet resilient figure in need of assistance. The tension between caution and trust, vulnerability and strength, sets up the emotional core of the story. The cowboy's arrival is not just a physical rescue but a narrative catalyst, providing hope and the possibility of connection in a world dominated by danger and cold. This moment promises that the harsh winter journey will evolve into a story of companionship, trust, and mutual reliance. After the initial encounter in the snowstorm, the story shifts from survival to the delicate process of building trust. The young woman, still trembling from cold and fear, faces a choice: to accept help from this stranger or continue facing the blizzard alone. Her hesitation is rooted in past trauma, betrayals, and the overwhelming uncertainty of trusting someone she has just met. For her, accepting the cowboy's assistance is more than a physical necessity. It is a risk to her emotional safety. This inner conflict deepens the reader's understanding of her character, highlighting her resilience while also revealing her vulnerabilities. The cowboy, aware of her hesitation, approaches with patience and respect. He does not force assistance but allows space for her to gauge his intentions. This shows his understanding that trust cannot be demanded, it must be earned. He speaks gently, explaining his desire to help without overstepping. He mentions that his cabin is nearby, a safe haven from the storm, and offers her warmth, food, and shelter. His tone is calm and measured, a stark contrast to the chaos of the storm around them. These small details emphasize his role as both protector and guide, someone who understands not only the physical dangers but also the emotional hurdles she faces. Her hesitation is portrayed through her body language and internal thoughts. She clutches her small bundle tightly, the physical act symbolizing her emotional guard. Her eyes dart nervously at the cowboy, questioning whether he could be trusted or if danger still lurks beneath his rugged exterior. Memories of past betrayals haunt her, each step toward him weighed against the possibility of deception. Yet beneath her fear, there is also a spark of hope, a recognition that survival may depend on letting someone in. The tension between caution and need forms the emotional heartbeat of this part of the story. The cowboy's actions help bridge this gap. He offers her a blanket, a gesture of immediate care and comfort. His hands are careful and non-threatening, and his calm demeanor signals reliability. He does not demand her trust but demonstrates it through consistent behavior, reinforcing the notion that trust is built through action rather than words alone. The snowy environment amplifies the significance of these gestures. In the midst of a world that is harsh and unforgiving, human kindness stands out as a beacon of hope. A pivotal moment occurs when she finally accepts his help. Perhaps she allows him to guide her by the arm or accepts the warmth of his blanket. This is a small but crucial act of faith, symbolizing the beginning of their connection. It also marks the shift in the narrative from pure survival to the potential for companionship. The cowboy's unwavering patience and quiet competence gradually chip away at her fear, revealing her capacity to trust once more. Part 3 also begins to hint at emotional resonance beyond survival. While their relationship starts as necessity, the subtle human connection, the way he watches for her safety, the small comforts he offers, and the calm reassurance in his voice plants the seeds for deeper emotional intimacy. The reader begins to sense that the cowboy is not only a protector, but also a stabilizing presence in her life, someone who could guide her toward healing and safety. By the end of this part, the tension of the blizzard and her peril is still present, but the emotional stakes have shifted. The reader now understands that the journey is not only about escaping the storm, but also about navigating trust, vulnerability, and the tentative beginnings of a bond. Hesitation has been met with patience, fear with understanding, and isolation with a potential ally. The groundwork is laid for a growing partnership that will carry them both through the challenges ahead. After the tense, cautious interaction in the snow, the cowboy leads the woman through the blizzard toward his cabin, a small but sturdy refuge nestled among the snow-laden pines. The journey to the cabin is arduous, the storm showing no mercy, whipping icy gusts into their faces and making every step a battle. Snowdrifts rise higher than their knees at points, and the woman's trembling hands and numb fingers speak to her near exhaustion. Yet, even in this harsh landscape, there is a growing sense of relief. She is no longer completely alone, and the cowboy's presence provides both physical support and a quiet, stabilizing reassurance. The cabin appears as a haven in the wilderness, modest yet solid. Smoke curls lazily from its chimney, promising warmth and protection from the relentless elements. The visual contrast between the blinding white snowstorm outside and the cozy interior inside underscores a critical shift in the narrative from raw survival to temporary safety. The cabin is not just a physical refuge. It symbolizes hope, the possibility of healing, and a space where trust can begin to deepen without the immediate threat of danger. Inside, the cowboy immediately takes practical steps to make her comfortable. He lights a fire, its orange glow reflecting off the wooden walls, and the heat begins to thaw the frost from her hair and eyelashes. He offers her a blanket and a warm drink, gestures that carry more meaning than simple comfort. They are demonstrations of care and reliability. These small acts show her that he is trustworthy and capable of providing both protection and sustenance. The warmth of the fire mirrors the growing emotional warmth in the room, as the tension from the snowy wilderness begins to ease, if only slightly. As they settle into the cabin, conversation begins to emerge. Initially awkward and cautious, the dialogue is hesitant, revealing fragments of each character's personality and past. The woman, still wary, shares little, testing the cowboy's reactions while he listens patiently, never pressing but offering glimpses of understanding through attentive expressions and calm speech. This exchange begins to humanize them to each other, moving the story from mere survival to emotional connection. The reader witnesses how trust, even in small increments, can transform fear into cautious optimism. The physical environment of the cabin further reinforces themes of safety and intimacy. The wooden walls and simple furnishings create a sense of groundedness and stability, contrasting sharply with the unpredictable snowstorm outside. The fire crackles, the only sound besides the wind, creating a cocoon-like atmosphere. The characters' closeness sharing warmth and space symbolically mirrors their emotional proximity. Here, they are not just traveler and rescuer. They are two individuals beginning to navigate the fragile, tentative terrain of mutual understanding. Even as safety is established, the story maintains tension. The storm rages on outside, a reminder that danger is never far. The woman knows that her flight is not yet over, and the cowboy is aware that the cabin can only provide temporary protection. This balance keeps the narrative compelling, juxtaposing a brief respite against the looming challenges they must face together. It also heightens the significance of their growing bond. The trust they establish now will be essential when they leave this temporary sanctuary. By the end of this part, the characters have crossed a critical threshold. From initial contact in the snow, marked by fear and uncertainty, they have moved into a space of tentative trust and comfort. The cabin serves as both a literal and symbolic shelter, a place to regain strength, begin healing, and start forming a bond that will sustain them through the trials ahead. The reader now sees the potential for a deeper relationship, one that intertwines survival with emotional growth, setting the stage for the story as next chapter, the beginning of true healing and connection amid lingering danger. After finding refuge in the cowboy's cabin, the story shifts from the immediacy of survival to the more subtle and emotional journey of healing. The young woman, still trembling from her flight through the snowstorm, begins to regain her physical and emotional strength. The warmth of the cabin, the crackling fire, and the simple act of receiving care start to chip away at the layers of exhaustion, fear, and trauma that have accumulated over her harrowing escape. The environment is no longer purely threatening. Instead, it becomes a space of potential renewal where small gestures of kindness and stability can foster recovery. The cowboy's role evolves naturally from rescuer to caretaker. He tends to her immediate needs with a quiet attentiveness, offering warm food, helping her remove the wet, frozen layers of clothing, and providing blankets to dry and warm her. Every action, though small, reinforces a growing sense of trust and safety. The narrative emphasizes that healing is not instant, it comes through repeated, patient acts that show reliability and empathy. By caring for her needs without expecting anything in return, the cowboy models a type of unconditional support that is new to the woman, whose past has been filled with betrayal and hardship. As the fire warms the cabin and the snowstorm rages outside, the woman begins to lower her defenses. She allows herself small moments of vulnerability, such as sharing her exhaustion, admitting her fears, or recounting fleeting memories of the danger she fled. These confessions, though partial, are significant. They mark the first steps toward emotional openness. The cowboy listens without judgment, offering gentle words of reassurance. His presence is steady and unassuming, demonstrating that he is not just a temporary protector, but a reliable anchor amid chaos. This emotional steadiness contrasts sharply with the unpredictability of her past, creating a safe space where trust can take root. Their interactions during this period are subtle but deeply meaningful. There are moments of shared silence, the kind that occurs when two people are comfortable in each other's presence. She observes how he moves through the cabin, how he tends to practical matters, and how he calmly handles challenges. Each observation reinforces the idea that he is dependable. At the same time, he begins to notice her resilience and quiet strength, the determination that carried her through the snowstorm, and the vulnerability that allows her to accept help. The interplay of mutual recognition of each other's strengths and vulnerabilities forms the emotional core of the story, transforming mere survival into genuine human connection. The healing process also involves small symbolic rituals. Eating a warm meal, drying out frozen clothes, and sitting by the fire are not just practical acts, they carry emotional weight. Each step back toward normalcy, no matter how small, represents a reclaiming of autonomy and dignity. The cowboy's respect for her boundaries allows her to navigate this process at her own pace, reinforcing that healing cannot be rushed or forced. The cabin, once merely a refuge from the storm, now becomes a sanctuary for rebuilding both body and spirit. Part 5 also foreshadows the emerging emotional bond between them. Through shared experiences, quiet conversations, and moments of mutual support, an undercurrent of affection begins to develop. It is subtle at first, a glance that lingers, a tone of concern in his voice, a faint smile that hints at connection, but it signals that the relationship may grow beyond protection and survival. The story emphasizes that healing is intertwined with trust, and trust is often the foundation for deeper emotional intimacy. By the end of this section, the young woman has begun to regain not only her physical strength, but also her sense of self. The storm outside continues to howl, reminding the reader that danger still exists, but inside the cabin, warmth, safety, and emotional recovery have taken root. This balance between ongoing threat and burgeoning hope sets the stage for the next part of the story, where shadows from her past begin to encroach, and the couple must navigate both external and internal challenges together. While the warmth of the cabin has offered the woman a temporary reprieve, the shadow of her past looms ever closer, threatening to disrupt the fragile safety she has begun to feel. Part 6 shifts the story from recovery to tension, introducing external danger and reminding both characters and the reader that the journey toward freedom and healing is far from over. The narrative emphasizes that survival is not merely a physical struggle, but also a confrontation with the lingering threats she escaped, both tangible and psychological. The woman's pursuers are still out there, perhaps a vindictive family member, an abusive partner, or individuals who wish to bring her back under control. Their presence is implied through subtle signs: footprints in the snow near the cabin, distant howls or shouts carried by the wind, or perhaps a note or message indicating that they know where she has gone. The storm, which once seemed like her only obstacle, now becomes a double-edged sword. It conceals her approach, but also allows her pursuers to track and endanger her. The tension heightens, reinforcing the urgency of action and the stakes of their situation. The cowboy, experienced and wary, immediately recognizes the danger. He begins to prepare the cabin and surrounding area for a potential confrontation. Doors are reinforced, windows checked for weaknesses, and strategic escape routes considered. His attention to detail shows not only his practical skills, but also his deep commitment to the woman's safety. This preparation underscores a critical narrative point. Trust is now mutual. The woman relies on him for protection, but she also starts to contribute, suggesting hiding places, helping to barricade entrances, or preparing supplies for an escape if needed. This collaboration strengthens their bond, transforming fear into purposeful teamwork. The psychological weight of the past is as significant as the physical threat. The woman struggles with memories of prior abuse or persecution flashbacks that cause moments of panic or hesitation. She may flinch at sudden noises, mistrust strangers, or feel guilt for needing help. The cabin, once a sanctuary, now serves as a testing ground for resilience and courage. Through these experiences, her character is deepened, revealing layers of trauma, fortitude, and emerging confidence. The cowboy's patience and steadfastness provide a counterbalance, showing her that she can confront her fears while having someone dependable by her side. This part also explores moral and emotional complexity. The cowboy must make difficult decisions about how to protect her without escalating danger. Should they remain in the cabin until the storm subsides, risking discovery, or venture out to a safer location, facing the elements and potential pursuit? These choices reflect a blend of tactical thinking and emotional sensitivity, emphasizing that heroism is not only about bravery, but also about careful planning and empathy. Simultaneously, the woman begins to recognize her own agency, realizing that she is not just a passive victim, but an active participant in her survival. The mounting tension is compounded by environmental challenges. The snowstorm continues, sometimes masking the movements of pursuers but also creating treacherous terrain for any attempted escape. Visibility is low, temperatures drop further, and the wilderness itself becomes an antagonist. This duality reinforces the story as central theme. The characters must navigate both natural and human threats, relying on each other's strengths to survive. The interplay between the storm, the pursuing danger, and the interior sanctuary of the cabin creates a layered narrative, balancing suspense with character development. By the end of Part 6, the stakes are clear. The woman's past is catching up, and the couple must confront both external and internal threats together. Their bond has strengthened, trust has deepened, and the foundation for partnership in both survival and emotional connection has solidified. The shadows of the past, while menacing, also serve to highlight their courage and the potential for resilience. This section sets the stage for the next chapter of the story, a dangerous journey that will test their strength, ingenuity, and commitment to each other. Having established a temporary sanctuary in the cowboy's cabin, the story moves into a more perilous and suspenseful phase as the woman and the cowboy embark on a dangerous journey toward safety. Part 7 shifts the narrative from static tension to active conflict, emphasizing physical endurance, strategic thinking, and the deepening emotional bond forged under pressure. Leaving the cabin is necessary; they cannot remain indefinitely, as the pursuit of her past threatens to close in, but doing so means venturing into the unforgiving wilderness, where both the elements and human threats pose constant danger. The journey begins with careful planning. The cowboy, experienced in traversing winter terrain, plots a path that balances speed, cover, and escape routes. Every step is deliberate. He evaluates snowdrifts, icy patches, and the potential for ambush. The woman follows, initially struggling to keep pace, her muscles still stiff from the long period of trauma and the cabin's temporary shelter. The physicality of this journey reinforces her vulnerability while also highlighting her resilience. Each step forward is a small triumph over both the storm and her own exhaustion. The narrative emphasizes the interplay of human determination and environmental challenge, creating a palpable tension that grips the reader. The snowstorm remains a persistent antagonist, obscuring vision and muffling sounds. Footsteps vanish quickly under fresh snowfall, making tracking both difficult and perilous. The woman's senses are heightened. Every crunch of snow, every snap of a branch, every gust of wind signals potential danger. The cowboy's vigilance complements her alertness. He reads the landscape, anticipates obstacles, and guides her through treacherous paths. This interdependence underscores a critical element of their relationship, trust forged through action, where each relies on the other for survival. The danger of the journey forces their bond to deepen more rapidly than it might have in safer circumstances. As they traverse the snowy terrain, encounters with wildlife or natural hazards add layers of tension. Wolves or coyotes may lurk nearby, snow-laden branches could collapse, and hidden crevices threaten falls. Each obstacle is not merely physical but also symbolic, representing the ongoing challenges in the woman's life, the lingering threat of her past, and the difficulty of navigating a world that has proven hostile. These trials serve to further develop her character, showcasing courage, quick thinking, and adaptability. Simultaneously, the cowboy's competence and calm under pressure are highlighted, reinforcing his role as both protector and mentor. During moments of relative calm pauses to rest or take shelter under trees, the two characters share glimpses of vulnerability and connection. The woman, recognizing the cowboy's consistent care, begins to express gratitude, recount small personal details, or even share light conversation, easing the psychological weight of the journey. These moments provide emotional relief and subtly develop the romantic and human elements of the story. The juxtaposition of harsh conditions and intimate exchanges underscores a recurring theme. Adversity can catalyze emotional closeness, revealing character strength and fostering connection. Throughout the journey, the threat of pursuit remains ever present. They occasionally catch signs of those following, the faint impression of boots in the snow, or distant sounds carried by the wind. Each encounter is a test of wit and courage, requiring them to make split-second decisions about hiding, detouring, or pressing forward. These high-stakes scenarios amplify suspense while also providing opportunities for the woman to demonstrate agency, courage, and growing confidence. Her evolution from frightened fugitive to active participant in her survival is evident, strengthening her narrative arc. By the end of Part 7, the journey has tested both characters physically and emotionally. They are no longer simply rescuer and rescued. They are partners in survival, their trust solidified by shared danger and interdependence. The landscape remains unforgiving, the pursuit unresolved, and the emotional stakes high, but the bond formed under pressure is undeniable. This section sets the stage for Part 8, where moments of intimacy, trust, and personal revelation will deepen their connection even further amidst the lingering threats of both nature and the woman's past. After enduring the physical and emotional challenges of the snowstorm and a dangerous journey, Part 8 shifts the story's focus to emotional intimacy and personal revelation. The woman and the cowboy, having relied on each other for survival, begin to explore the deeper layers of trust and connection that have been quietly building between them. This part is pivotal because it transforms the story from a survival adventure into a tale of emotional growth, vulnerability, and the beginnings of a romantic bond. During a brief respite from the harsh journey, perhaps at a sheltered clearing, a frozen stream, or under a thick grove of pine trees, the couple finds a rare moment of calm. Here, the snow continues to fall softly, muffling sounds and isolating them from the outside world. The environment, though still cold and potentially dangerous, allows for quiet reflection and conversation. The stark contrast between the previous moments of peril and this temporary peace creates a safe emotional space, encouraging openness. For the woman, this calm represents an opportunity to confront her fears, share her story, and acknowledge the gravity of what she has escaped. The woman begins to reveal the truth of her past details she had withheld even from herself. Perhaps she speaks of an abusive household, a controlling partner, or a threat that forced her into the blizzard. Her voice may tremble, revealing lingering fear, but it also carries strength. By speaking, she reclaims her narrative and asserts agency over her life. This confession is cathartic, allowing her to unburden herself of shame, guilt, and trauma. The act of sharing demonstrates her growing trust in the cowboy, signaling that she now sees him not just as a protector, but as a confidant and ally. The cowboy listens with quiet attentiveness, never interrupting or judging. His responses are measured and compassionate, validating her feelings and experiences without imposing his own interpretations. Through subtle gestures, offering a hand, a reassuring glance, or a gentle touch on the shoulder, he communicates empathy and understanding, reinforcing the emotional bond. This attentive presence is crucial. It demonstrates that true connection is built on respect, patience, and consistent care, rather than hurried words or forced intimacy. As the woman shares her story, the cowboy may also reveal aspects of his own past loss, hardship, or experiences that shaped his sense of responsibility and compassion. These confessions create a mutual understanding, a mirror through which they recognize each other's resilience and humanity. By exchanging vulnerabilities, the emotional intimacy deepens, moving beyond survival to genuine connection. The shared experiences of danger and hardship now serve as a foundation for trust, respect, and eventually, love. Physical proximity during these moments enhances the emotional resonance. Huddled together for warmth, sharing blankets, or tending to minor injuries, the closeness fosters subtle, nonverbal communication. A brush of hands, a shared glance, or a quiet laugh creates an unspoken understanding. They are no longer strangers, but companions navigating adversity together. These small, tender moments plant the seeds of romantic tension, showing that love can emerge in the midst of chaos and danger. The narrative also explores the psychological transformation of both characters. The woman, once defined by fear and vulnerability, begins to see herself as capable, resilient, and deserving of care. The cowboy, while steadfast and protective, discovers a deeper emotional dimension in himself, realizing that compassion and vulnerability are not weaknesses but strengths. Their growing emotional intimacy underscores a key theme. Trust and connection are forged through shared struggle, empathy, and courage. By the end of Part 8, the stage is set for the story's climax. The bond between the cowboy and the woman has strengthened, their trust now deeply rooted, and their emotional connection undeniable. However, lingering threats both from the woman's past and the harsh environment remain, creating suspense and setting the stage for confrontation and resolution in the next part of the story. This chapter emphasizes that while survival may bring people together, true connection emerges through vulnerability, shared courage, and the willingness to trust in another. By the tension that has been building throughout the story reaches its climax. The woman's past, the threat that forced her into the blizzard, finally catches up with her, and the safety of the cabin and journey is no longer enough. This section is a test of courage, resourcefulness, and the bond that has developed between the cowboy and the woman. The confrontation is both external, against those pursuing her, and internal, as she must confront lingering fears and embrace her own strength. The stakes are high, as failure could mean recapture, injury, or worse, making every decision critical. The scene begins as the signs of pursuit become undeniable. Perhaps the crunch of approaching footsteps echoes across the snow, or shadows move between the trees as her pursuers close in. The cold winter landscape, previously a backdrop for survival and healing, now becomes a stage for danger. Visibility is low, snow continues to fall, and the terrain is treacherous. This setting amplifies the suspense, placing the characters in a situation where quick thinking and trust in each other are the only paths to survival. The cowboy takes the lead, using his knowledge of the land to strategically prepare for the confrontation. He identifies natural cover, plans escape routes, and positions the woman where she can remain safe but involved if needed. His experience in handling threats is evident, but the story emphasizes that this confrontation is not a one-man effort. The woman is now an active participant. Her courage, sharpened by the prior journey and moments of trust, allows her to contribute to the strategy, hiding signals, setting traps, or creating distractions. This cooperation underscores the transformation in her character from vulnerable fugitive to empowered partner. When the pursuers arrive, the confrontation is tense and immediate. The cowboy may use his physical skill, firearms, or knowledge of the terrain to protect them both, while the woman's quick thinking and courage play a crucial role in evading capture. Every action is calculated. Each misstep could be catastrophic. The narrative highlights their interdependence, his protection is enhanced by her ingenuity, and her bravery is amplified by his steady presence. This mutual reliance has been built gradually over their journey, reinforcing the story's core theme of partnership forged through adversity. Emotionally, the confrontation is as much about inner courage as external conflict. The woman faces her fear head-on, confronting the individuals who represent her past trauma. Her survival is no longer passive. She fights alongside the cowboy, demonstrating agency and resilience. The reader witnesses her transformation fully here, from terrified and mistrustful to confident, resourceful, and empowered. The cowboy, in turn, reveals the depth of his commitment, not just as a protector, but as someone willing to risk everything for her safety. Their bond is validated under extreme circumstances, and the emotional stakes are heightened by the life or death nature of the encounter. The resolution of this confrontation is decisive. The pursuers are either defeated or outmaneuvered, thanks to the combination of the cowboy's skills and the woman's bravery. The danger that has haunted the woman throughout the story is finally neutralized, allowing her a measure of freedom and closure. This moment is cathartic, symbolizing not only physical survival but also emotional liberation. She has faced her past, relied on another without losing her independence, and emerged stronger. By the end of the immediate threat has been resolved, but the story does not yet conclude. The woman and the cowboy are bonded not only by survival but by shared courage and trust. The confrontation solidifies their partnership, demonstrating that together they can overcome even the most formidable challenges. With the danger behind them, the story prepares to transition to the final chapter, a resolution that promises hope, safety, and the possibility of a future together. With the confrontation resolved and the immediate threat of her past behind them, Part 10 transitions the narrative from tension and survival to resolution, hope, and emotional closure. The woman and the cowboy have endured a harrowing journey together, and this final chapter celebrates the fruits of their resilience, trust, and growing bond. The snowstorm, which has been a constant force of danger and isolation, begins to recede, revealing a world transformed by both their struggle and their companionship. Symbolically, the clearing skies and thawing snow mirror the woman's emergence from fear and trauma into safety, self-assurance, and the possibility of love. The journey toward a safe town or settlement represents the first step in reclaiming a normal life. Traveling through the now calmer winter landscape, they are no longer merely fugitives. Their actions are deliberate and empowered. The woman walks with a newfound confidence, her posture reflecting the strength she has gained from surviving both the storm and her pursuers. The cowboy remains a steady presence at her side, protective yet respectful of her independence. Their partnership is fully established. They act as equals, each complementing the other's abilities, and their shared experiences have transformed fear into trust and camaraderie into affection. Emotionally, this final part emphasizes closure and healing. The woman has confronted the trauma of her past, survived extreme physical and psychological challenges, and discovered both resilience and agency within herself. She has learned to trust again, first tentatively and then fully, allowing herself to connect with the cowboy on a level that extends beyond mere survival. The cowboy, for his part, experiences the fulfillment of his protective instincts and the deep satisfaction of witnessing her recovery. Their bond is no longer circumstantial. It is forged in adversity, strengthened by shared courage, and solidified through mutual respect and understanding. As they approach civilization, the story highlights the small but significant gestures that demonstrate the depth of their relationship. Perhaps the cowboy offers a hand to steady her as they traverse icy patches, or the woman smiles softly at him, a signal of affection and gratitude. Their interactions are natural, rooted in the familiarity of shared hardship, yet infused with emotional intimacy. The reader senses the possibility of romance, not sudden or forced, but organic, arising from a foundation of trust, care, and shared experience. This subtle development reinforces one of the story's central themes. Love and connection can flourish even in the most unlikely and challenging circumstances. The town itself, when finally reached, represents more than a physical destination. It symbolizes hope, renewal, and the promise of a future unburdened by fear. The snow-covered streets and warm lights of buildings contrast with the harsh wilderness, emphasizing the transition from danger to safety, isolation to community, and despair to optimism. The woman can now envision a life beyond running and hiding, a life where she can be free, valued, and loved. The cowboy, too, sees the reward of their journey, a chance to protect and care for someone who has become deeply meaningful to him, not out of obligation, but out of genuine connection. The narrative closes by highlighting the symbolic and emotional significance of the journey. The snowstorm, which once represented fear, isolation, and the unknown, has passed. What remains is a sense of possibility and renewal. The woman and the cowboy stand side by side, facing the future together. They are no longer defined solely by the hardships they endured, but by the courage, trust, and love that emerged through those trials. Their story ends not with finality, but with the promise of new beginnings, both in life and in their bond, signaling a hopeful continuation beyond the pages of the narrative. By the end of the story has come full circle. The woman's flight through the snow has transformed into a journey of healing, trust, and partnership. The cowboy's timely intervention evolved into genuine connection and love. The narrative closes on a note of empowerment, resilience, and hope, leaving the reader with a satisfying emotional resolution and the sense that both characters are ready to face whatever comes next together.